This guy was paying champagne.
این اواخر یه جور بود که شبی که کسی نمیکشم خواب نمیبرد. مثل معتادا. یک حالت احتیاط داشتیم اینا.
الان هیچ احساس ناراحتی یا گناه میکنید؟
الان که فکر میکنم که عملی انجام نمیدم.
Saeed Hanaei, also called the Spider Killer, was a man from Mashhad, Iran, who killed 16 sex workers between 2000 and 2001, saying God told him to do it. He believed these women, many struggling with drug addiction, were ruining the holy city's purity, and he claimed divine visions ordered him to cleanse Mashhad by strangling them with their own scarves and dumping their bodies in empty lots. But some think he lied about God's orders, using religion to hide his own dark reasons, like taking advantage of these women and killing them to cover it up when he feared getting caught or shaming his family. Saeed Hanaei wasn't born into privilege or poverty that screamed for attention. He entered the world in 1962, in the dusty outskirts of Mashhad, Iran's second-largest city and a beacon for Shia pilgrims. Mashhad isn't just any place. It's home to the Imam Reza Shrine, a sprawling complex of turquoise tiles and minarets that draws millions seeking spiritual solace. It's a city where faith isn't optional. It's the air you breathe. But beneath the prayers and the incense, Mashhad has always harbored shadows, poverty, addiction, and the quiet desperation of those on the fringes. Saeed's childhood was no fairy tale. From what little we know, and much of it pieced together from court records and family whispers, his mother was a force of torment. She wasn't the nurturing type. Reports from his trial paint a picture of physical abuse that bordered on the feral, nails raking across his skin until blood welled up. Imagine a boy, small and scared, flinching at every raised hand, every sharp word. Psychologists later speculated this planted seeds of rage, a deep-seated hatred toward women that twisted into something monstrous. But Saeed didn't grow up talking about it. He internalized it, like so many do, burying the pain under layers of silence and survival. As a teen, Saeed found purpose in the chaos of the Iran-Iraq War. In the 1980s, when missiles rained down and boys barely old enough to shave were shipped to the front lines, Saeed volunteered. He wasn't drafted. He chose it. The war was a crucible for Iranian men, a test of faith, loyalty, and manhood. Saeed returned a hero in his own mind, scarred but unbroken, with stories of dodging chemical attacks and clutching his rosary beads in the trenches. It forged him, they say, into a man who saw the world in black and white, good versus evil, purity versus sin, and Mashhad, that holy heart of Iran, became his battlefield once more. By the 1990s, Saeed was a construction worker, unskilled labor, hauling bricks under the relentless sun, his calloused hands a testament to a life of quiet grind. He married young, as was the custom, and fathered 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. To the outside world, he was ordinary, a family man who prayed 5 times a day, who bowed low at the shrine, who shared tea with neighbors after Friday prayers. His wife, Parvaneh, described him in interviews as devoted, a husband who brought home what little he earned, who played with the kids in their cramped apartment on the city's edge. But cracks were there, if you looked close. Saeed had a temper, a brooding intensity, and then, in the summer of 2000, everything shattered. It started with a mistake, or so Saeed claimed. One evening, Parvaneh was walking home from the market, her headscarf slightly askew in the heat. A group of men catcalled her, mistaking her for one of the city's hidden underbelly, a prostitute. In Mashhad, sex work wasn't just illegal, it was an affront to the divine. The streets around the shrine teemed with pilgrims, but in the back alleys, desperation bred vice. Women, often addicts hooked on cheap heroin or crystal meth, sold their bodies for a fix, a meal, survival. They were ghosts in the holy city, invisible until they weren't. Saeed seethed. That night, he confided in a friend over smuggled cigarettes. These women are poisoning our city. They're a cancer on Mashhad's soul. But words weren't enough. In his mind, God whispered approval. Saeed later told interrogators he'd seen a vision, a divine command to cleanse the streets, to rid the pilgrimage city of moral filth. Prostitutes, he believed, were waste of blood, vermin defiling the ground where Imam Reza's bones rested. He wasn't killing for thrill or revenge. He was on a mission from Allah, a holy spider, spinning a web of death to trap the unworthy. His first victim was Afsaneh Karimpour, 30 years old. It was August 7th, 2000. Afsaneh was no stranger to the streets, addicted, broke, turning tricks near the train station to feed her habit. Saeed spotted her under a flickering street lamp, her chador slipping to reveal tired eyes. He approached with the smoothness of a predator, offering money for a private prayer at his place. She followed, unaware. Inside his modest home, while Parvaneh and the kids slept in another room, Saeed struck. He looped her own headscarf around her neck, pulling tight until her struggles faded. No screams, no mess. He washed her body, wrapped it in a burlap sack, and dumped it in a vacant lot on the outskirts near Kinney Rab Road. The next day, her body was found, strangled, discarded like trash. The city barely noticed at first. One dead woman in a sea of forgotten souls. But Saeed didn't stop. 3 days later, August 10th, another, Layla, her name whispered in police reports. Strangled the same way, dumped nearby. On August 11th, Fariba Rahimpour, 28, found in Sagradeshar, her body twisted in a sack, scarf marks blooming purple on her throat. Saeed was efficient, almost ritualistic. He'd lure them with promises of cash or drugs, drive them to isolated spots or his home, choke the life out of them with their own clothing. Why the scarf? It was symbolic, he said, a noose of their own hypocrisy, binding them in the sin they'd chosen. Word spread slowly. Mashhad's police were overwhelmed. Petty thefts, drug busts, pilgrim crowds. But by January 2001, the bodies piled up. Masume, found near the Iran Khodro factory on January 3rd, her veil still clutched in rigor-stiff fingers. February brought Sarah Rahmani, 27, discarded like a broken doll. Azam Abdi, 45, the oldest so far, strangled on the 29th near Kin Arab Road. Saeed's pattern emerged. He targeted the vulnerable, women in their 20s and 30s, often hijab-clad but haunted by addiction. He'd chat them up, feign sympathy for their hard lives, then strike when trust bloomed. Spring 2001 turned the holy city into a hunting ground. March 19th, Sakineh Kaihanzadeh, 50, wrapped in black cloth like a funeral shroud, left in northeastern Mashhad. 4 days later, Khadijeh Fal Kasri, strangled with a scarf in Dastabad. April was a frenzy. Marzia Sadatian, 35, on the 12th near Kuchan. Mariam, 35, on the 14th. Tuba, also 35, the next day. Azra Hajizadeh, 31, on April 24th, right on North Khayyam Street, bold as brass. Saeed felt invincible, untouchable. In his confessions, he bragged, "I was doing God's work." Each one was a prayer answered. By summer, the tally hit double digits. July 3rd, a triple kill. Mariam Beghi, 28, alongside Shiva and Zahra, all strangled on Shahid Mosavi Boulevard. Layla, just 20, on the 11th. Mahbube Elahi, only 18, the youngest, on July 24th near Kuchan's Old Road. And finally, in August, Zahra Dadkhosravi, 33, sealing his legacy of terror. 16 confirmed victims, though whispers hinted at 3 more, buried in unmarked graves. Saeed's web had ensnared them all, lured by false piety, killed in cold faith. Mashhad's cops were pious men, ill-equipped for a serial killer in their midst. Early leads fizzled, tips about a white Paycan car, sightings of a bearded man in a dish dasha. The press dubbed him the Spider Killer for the way he trapped his prey, spinning lies like silk. Women vanished weekly, bodies surfacing in ditches, wrapped in veils that mocked their faith. Panic rippled through the red light shadows. Sex workers went underground, but Saeed adapted, cruising quieter streets. Then, a break. In July 2001, Saeed slipped. Desperate for his next cleansing, he approached a woman on the street, only to realize too late she was his brother's fiancée. She screamed, fought, and bolted to a nearby patrol car. Saeed fled, but the web tightened. Police tailed him, watched his routine. Prayers at dawn, work by day, hunts by night. On July 25th, they moved in. Bursting into his home, they found Parvaneh cooking dinner, kids playing. Saeed confessed almost eagerly, "I've been waiting for you. God told me my work was done." In the stark fluorescent lights of the station, Saeed spilled it all. No remorse, just zeal. "These women were defiling Mashhad," he said, eyes gleaming. "They lured men into sin, spread disease, mocked our faith. I strangled them to send their souls to judgment. Quick, merciful." He detailed each kill, naming victims like rosary beads. Afsana, Layla, Fariba, up to Zahra. That night with his wife. But deeper, it was his war scars, his mother's cruelty, twisted through a fundamentalist lens. Experts called it mission-oriented killing, not lust or power, but a delusional crusade. Saeed saw himself as a martyr, a spider ordained by God to weave justice. The trial was swift, Iran's justice system no stranger to spectacle. In late 2001, before a packed courtroom in Mashhad, Saeed stood unbowed. Prosecutors laid out the evidence, fibers from his car, witness sketches matching his face, his own taped confession. But the defense, barely a whisper. Saeed took the stand, quoting Quran verses on purity, decrying the immoral plague on his city. The judge, a stern cleric, wasn't swayed. Guilty on all counts, 16 murders, premeditated and cold, sentenced to hang. On April 8, 2002, at dawn in Mashhad prison, Saeed Hanaei, 39, dropped through the gallows trapdoor. His last words, a prayer for forgiveness, not for the killings, but for stopping too soon. But the real horror wasn't the noose, it was the aftermath. Iran split down the middle. Hardline Islamists hailed him a hero. The newspaper Jomhuri Islami ran op-eds. He did what the state wouldn't, cleaned the streets of vice. A bazaar merchants in Mashhad nodded approval. Good riddance to those women. Saeed was brave. Even some families of victims faced backlash, accused of sheltering sinners. Women's rights groups decried it as state-sanctioned misogyny, a symptom of Iran's patriarchal grip. Prostitutes, already marginalized, vanished deeper into fear, and the shrine, pilgrims still flocked. But whispers lingered. Was the holy city cursed? Documentaries followed. Maziar Bahari's And Along Came a Spider in 2003, interviewing Saeed's widow and son, who tearfully defended him. He was a good man, misguided by faith. Films like Killer Spider in 2020 and Ali Abbasi's Holy Spider in 2022 brought it global, earning Cannes nods and sparking debates on religion and violence. Saeed Hanaei wasn't a monster from horror films. He was a man shaped by abuse, war, and zealotry who turned a city's sanctity into a slaughterhouse. 16 lives snuffed out in the name of God, a reminder that the deadliest webs are spun from belief. Evil doesn't always lurk in shadows. Sometimes it preys in the light. Saeed Hanaei's mother told police a strange story during his investigation. She said she heard a voice at night reciting Quran verses, which told her that her son was killing women in Mashhad. She claimed she woke up, checked the room, and found no one there, just emptiness.
سعیدم نیست. اون نفری هم که داره حرف میزنه ندیدم. بعد دیدم که یک صدای میاد میگه با همین آیه های قرآن این سعید عمل کرده که اینا رو کشته.
Her tale seemed to back Saeed's claim that God ordered him to kill, making it sound like he was on a holy mission. In a religious city like Mashhad, this story could make people think Saeed was guided by something divine, but many believe she was lying to protect her son. There was likely no voice, no Quran reading, just a made-up story to make Saeed seem less guilty. By using religion, she might have hoped to gain sympathy for him, painting him as a man following God's will instead of a cold-blooded killer. In Iran, where faith matters deeply, this could have been her attempt to lessen his blame, though it didn't save him from being hanged in 2002. Some people think Saeed Hanaei wasn't telling the truth about why he killed those women. Instead of acting on God's orders, they believe he used the women, many of whom were sex workers struggling with addiction, for his own personal reasons, maybe even his own desires. When he realized the police might catch him or his family might find out about what he was doing, he decided to kill them to keep his secret safe. This idea suggests the murders weren't about religion at all, but about hiding his own shameful actions. When Saeed was arrested in July 2001, he quickly told the police a story about God giving him a mission to clean Mashhad of sinful women, but this could have been a lie to cover up his real motives. By saying he was following divine orders, he might have hoped to look like a holy man, instead of someone who took advantage of vulnerable women. In a place like Iran, where religion is so important, this story could make some people see him as a hero, not a criminal, even though he killed 16 women. This theory shows how Saeed might have used religion to hide his true intentions. Instead of being a man driven by faith, he could have been driven by fear of getting caught. While there's no hard proof for this idea, it makes you wonder if his talk about God was just a way to escape blame for his terrible crimes.